This is a Global Skills Podcast, conversations that shape the future of work and learning. We're exploring how we close the skills gap and build a future where everyone has the chance to thrive. From education to business, connecting people, ideas, and opportunities that drive change. It's about collaboration, curiosity, and creating real impact today. Because every skill learned brings us one step closer to a more inclusive world. The Global Skills Podcast, where learning and opportunity come together. Today's guest is Skai O'Sullivan, a talent director at Connexus, where she leads the financial and professional services and technology division across Ireland, Europe, and the US. Connexus is a Dublin-based specialist search consultancy known for uncovering high-performing talent in digital finance, marketing, design, data, accounting, risk, and technology. They operate from a distinctive playbook that blends commercial insight, strategic hiring, advice, and a deep human approach. Hence, I'm very excited about having Skai on today because we're going to really dig deep on the role of skills and the connection between recruitment, industry, and education. Skai, it's wonderful to have you on.
Thanks so much, Vanessa. It's so nice to join you today.
So I'm very interested, like with many of the guests that we have on, I think there's a common denominator when people work in talent at whatever level that the doors were either open to them and they planned for that door to be open, or they fell into this space.
You hit the nail on the head. You'd rarely find a recruiter who woke up one morning when they were 10 and they decided that's what I want to be when I grow up. And for me, I guess it was a little bit of both. So my background, when I finished school, I decided to go the more traditional way. I joined college. I started studying accountancy and finance because it's a good, solid, reliable career. So my dad said for about a year. And after a while, I just wasn't loving it. I didn't have the grow for it. So I said, you know what? I'll do the smart thing. I'll pack up my car and move to Dublin. So that was an interesting time for me. I started working in door-to-door sales. And so I did that for close to 2 years. I did that. And then one of my friends, her partner was working in recruitment. And he said, oh, you'd be absolutely brilliant at this. Why don't you give it a go? And I did. And I fell in love. So I'd say, yes, I probably fell into it, but also I decided to stick with it because I could have went down an alternative sales route. So yeah, I started in recruitment over a decade now. I started in accounting and finance recruitment. And then I done a little bit of in-house recruitment, and I've been working with startup recruitment agencies for the last 5 years. So I've only been in Connexus for 3 months now, as talent director here, and I'm absolutely loving it.
It's an unusual move to have gone in-house and then to go back on, sourcing and recruiting and leading teams. What's made you decide to make that move?
You know what? I think because all I knew was agency, I don't think I fully appreciated the buzz of it and what that environment, that what you put in is what you get out. So I really wanted to try in-house because I would always be dealing with in-house recruiters from an agency perspective. And I said, God, you're so lucky. I place a candidate, they get to see them grow and flourish and develop and kind of play a part in that journey. Whereas I only played a part in making the introduction, getting them in the door. So I loved my time in-house. Again, it goes back to that. I brought someone in the company and seen them getting promoted. It was just a really nice feeling, but I wasn't getting rewarded financially. I was recruiting for the same type of role, for the same company, day in, day out, and I liked it. However, I missed the buzz. I can't sit still. I need to always be chasing, hustling, as they say in agency recruitment. So that's when I decided to go back to agency. And I think I gained so much from having the experience of both because I could understand the struggle that internal hiring managers have and how to best approach them from an agency perspective as well. So yeah.
What are you seeing as the change around hiring, what companies are looking for, the whole process of how CVs are being assessed, and the overall, that skills first conversation that a lot of leaders are talking about? But I guess my big question is, has it actually filtered down to the conversations that you have from a TA perspective?
Absolutely, it has. And I think the big buzzword that you're probably expecting me to say and everyone's expecting to hear is AI. So I think that's obviously had a huge impact, and companies who are realizing that it's there to aid you and to support you and to complete the minute tasks, the mundane tasks, to let you focus on the human aspect. So yes, AI is there. It's great. It does support recruitment. However, it's to enable us to spend more time being human. And from a skills perspective, yes, I am having those conversations with clients. And the biggest shift that I noticed in the last kind of year or so is the commercial awareness. So it doesn't matter if you're an accountant or if you're a software developer, it's having the commercial awareness and everything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. What impact will that have on the bottom line in a year or two? Because let's face it, especially in Ireland with inflation, with some economic uncertainty, it's a really hard time to do business in one sense because it's so expensive to do business. The lines are getting absolutely squeezed for a lot of businesses. So it's just about how absolutely every single person in the business contributes to the bottom line. And that's what it comes down to. And it's all through human interaction. So let AI do the little tasks and let humans be humans.
Yeah, that is really a great perspective. And I think a lot of companies are probably now realizing that is the way to go. So not necessarily making announcements of vast redundancies just to cut headcount by a percentage, but really think about who are the people that you have, how should they be upskilled, who should be upskilled, in what, where can their skills be transferred. Are you seeing much movement of people moving roles and not just heading in the same direction or transition to new industries?
Yes, absolutely. I think more so at a more senior level, I'm seeing that. I think maybe most recent candidate, they would have been working as a CFO for maybe 20 years, really experienced. But not only are they looking to maybe make a little shift in their career in terms of coming in from a more strategic consultancy transformation, that so many roles in transformation now, a lot of companies upgrading their current operating model and technology wise as well. So there's been a lot of movement in that direction into the fractional side of work. I don't know if that's a buzzword that you've heard about for the last say, a year or so. That's been really going around because people really want to make an impact on companies and show that, yes, I might have been a CFO for 20 years, but I've got so many other transferable skills. I can wear multiple hats. I can be the bridge between revenue and sales and marketing and everything because everything goes through finance at the end of the day. So it's people realizing their potential. And I think how they've been able to showcase that is through doing fractional work, that transformational work.
When it comes to the CV, in a world that we are now really connected to skills and competencies and understanding where, as you say, it's not necessarily like a job for a year or two, it can be fractional, it can be contract. Does the CV really stack up as the best tool to support that process? And what are your opinions on that? And also, is it giving a good indication of the human or the soft skills that someone has?
That's an interesting question, and I think I might sound a bit I might contradict myself on this. One hand, absolutely, it's your CV that gets you the interview, where you can really sell yourself and showcase what you can bring to the table. So yes, CV is really important, but then on the other side of it, people buy from people. But how do you get in front of people without your CV? So what I'm seeing a lot of, and I've seen it myself, my clients often come to me because they might show up a job or advertise the role even, and they get so many candidates that the CVs are clearly written by AI. So even though they might be a great candidate and maybe they were insecure about their CV, they got AI to help them, but it was too AI focused, so they don't even get the chance to get in front of people. So I think the CV is still really important. Yes, you don't get the full insight into the person, but if companies are hiring skills first, if you're able to showcase your skills on your CV, then you'll get in front of the right people where you can communicate the value that you bring.
And on the point around working with companies now and the fact that there is a greater emphasis on bottom line, I've always been a champion of recruiters and talent acquisition specialists. Well, the good ones, because in any job type, there, you have good and you
Yeah.
have bad. And I think it potentially is the time for talent acquisition and recruitment to step up to the mark and really help C-suite understand, I mean, guessing from a workforce planning perspective, human capital management, what skills are needed to future-proof the talent, what's going to be needed for hiring. Like, there is a role there to be filled. What are your thoughts around the potential of talent acquisition in the next year or two?
I'm really excited that you asked me that because given the time of year now, we're very much planning for I guess for the next couple of quarters here internally. And one of the things we're hugely focusing on is becoming a strategic partner to companies that we're working with, to clients. So being an extended talent team, working very closely with the leaders, as you mentioned, the human capital side of it. And yeah, a few things that we've been working on would be EVP. A lot of HR leaders, unfortunately, don't know what the company's EVP is because our sister company often hosts events for Enterprise Ireland. So we gather a group of HR leaders who might be struggling with certain aspects to attract talent. And when we done the EVP workshop, I'd say about 80% of them didn't know why candidates would want to join their firm. So it's little things like that that we can bring value because we're speaking with candidates all day long. We know what they like. We know how the shifts are moving. So a couple of years ago, it was all about remote working. And now, because of the cost of living crisis, a lot of candidates are starting to shift. Although, yes, they really do value the remote working, salary is becoming increasingly more important in the last few months. So it's those insights that we can provide around that talent planning, pipelining, being future proof, EVP, things like that.
And then you sit on an incredible asset as a talent agency, like any major recruitment company or talent acquisition company, where you've obviously engaged, as you said, with multiple candidates. And I think there's a real, I guess, unknowing by early talent and mid careers as to, well, what skills do we need to maximize our employment potential? Do you see talent acquisition recruitment actually playing a role with working closer with learning departments within organizations, or do you think they will remain separate? And I ask that because we've had a number of guests saying that they're starting to witness talent acquisition, talent merge in some organizations. So I just want to see, is that mainstream within the areas that you were?
It is not as much, not as much. I think it's becoming increasingly more popular. I think there was a stigma for so many years that HR and recruitment are grouped into one and all the other departments are separate. Whereas in the last few years, talent and recruitment, yes, they're own separate entities, but they come together. L&D falls within that. And the more they can work together, the more they can, again, plan for the future and adjust people's skills. But one thing I did want to talk about is the apprenticeships, how companies can address the skill shortages in their companies. And I've seen so many businesses, predominantly in the financial services sector. Again, it could be somebody who might have, like me, might have thought they wanted to be an accountant, but then they said, you know what, I don't want to do this. Then they might work in retail or hospitality for a couple of years until they figure out what they want to do. But because they haven't finished that degree or whatever position personally they might be, depending on their circumstances, they see it as a mission impossible. How would I get my foot in the door with this global company or this indigenous company? I don't have a degree. I don't have that. Whereas an apprenticeship program allows the employer to have somebody who's learning on the job while they're earning and they're getting a professional qualification at the same time. Everyone wins in that case. So there's been an increasing amount of awareness made about that. It's not enough yet, but I think that's the future of how we're going to address the skills gap, if you will.
And how difficult is it for a company if they're inspired by your words right now and they're thinking, "God, we really struggle to fill roles." I mean, a classic example could be having people from a specific industry, say pharma, where you need someone who has the pharma background. They're still early talent, but they need some AI skills. Creating that type of apprenticeship, AI apprenticeship, for example, and bringing them in. But how, as a company, do you go about that? And are there any supports or anything to help a company to do that?
There absolutely is. And to be honest, I don't think I'm qualified to give advice on how to go about it, but I would definitely say have a look on Apprenticeship Ireland website or a Generation Apprenticeship, I think they're called. They're always available, super supportive. And I think as of now, they have students or programs for apprenticeships across the board. So that's from your tradesmen to financial services to recruitment to pharma. So they're doing God's work.
Amazing. Okay. And there's hope as well. So if I'm an individual listening today and maybe, as you said, I haven't got the degree and life happens as well. It might
Yeah.
not just be because of academic reasons. It could have been you couldn't complete it for whatever reason. There are other doors. And I think sometimes maybe it's a stereotype. We think apprenticeship is to do with trades roles,
Yeah.
but what you're saying is it's extending beyond that now.
It absolutely is across the board. I myself completed an apprenticeship, although I already had work experience. I had the practical knowledge of what I was doing. I think I was in recruitment for about 8 years. And then my manager, or sorry, my CEO at the time came to me and said NCI and ERF have joined forces. They're launching this new level 8 recruitment degree. It runs for 3 years. You have to stay with me for 3 years. which was a pleasure. And during that time, you're working for 4 days, you're virtually in college for 1 day, and at the end of the 3 years, you get your degree. Now, it was really, really tough because I was managing a big team at the time as well. But my God, was it worth it? When I stood there last year with my gown, accepting my diploma, that was a really powerful moment. And that's why I feel so passionate about the apprenticeship program.
Yeah, yeah, got it. Well, I would imagine that's going to inspire many listening if to the path and realizing actually there are apprenticeships across multiple industries. And then, what are your thoughts about ageism that's always been there in talent acquisition? I mean, I remember it going back 15, 20 years ago being told, Vanessa, there's a certain level of age that we can consider people at, and then beyond that, probably not. I think things have changed dramatically, but I'm seeing a lot of posts on LinkedIn by people that maybe have worked for 20, 30 years, and they're actually finding it very difficult to get an interview. Would you give them advice as to perhaps go to specialist agencies for support in opening doors, or what would be your recommendation?
So that's actually quite an interesting point, and I think we briefly touched on that earlier when I spoke about fractional work. I think ageism, it's like any other grounds of discrimination. We cannot talk about it, but people still do discriminate against age. They may not actively say that, but if I send 3 candidates and the most experienced candidate doesn't get called in, I can read between the lines and know why. So I think that's my job as a recruiter to really stand behind my candidate and to show the value that they bring. But in terms of what advice I would give somebody who maybe has a lot of experience, they have so much to bring to the table, is yes, go to agencies who might be able to support you. Those specifically working on senior level roles. I think it's just overall as an industry, it's not necessarily an age thing. There's just not that many leadership positions because a lot of companies are focusing on growing organically and promoting from within. So that it's not, and again, it's not that if they have a senior level position, oh, we're not going to accept somebody over a certain age. It's we have 5 people here who have been dedicated and working with us for such a long time, and now it's time to upskill them and give them this opportunity. So what I've seen a lot of candidates do in that position is turn to fractional work, and it works better for them. They have better work-life balance. They can do a 6-month project and take 6 months off. So it works better for a lot of people. But on the other hand, I do know a lot of candidates who may have 30 plus years experience and they're not ready to do the contract work. They want to be full-time employment. They've so much to give. They want to be part of a company and feel like not only are they contributing something, they're getting something out of it.
You know, what I'm hearing again and again is just that there is a huge increase in applications, and it's a two-way thing because the platforms out there for active jobs have made it so easy to click and apply. And then, as you mentioned earlier on, some of the CVs are auto generated. What is it like for you currently in that space?
Exactly what you said. Yeah. So typically, like we would do targeted headhunting, but for brand awareness and to attract any active candidates, we would also advertise. And I'd say at least 90% applications are irrelevant. And I think it comes down to because it is easy to apply or candidates just want to get on our radar. I don't think it's malicious at all. They might just want to, okay, I'll get in front of the recruiter. If they have something for me, they'll call me. But if you keep doing that, like you can see on one of the platforms that you use how many jobs within our organization candidates have applied. So if I see a candidate has applied for 20 different roles and one of them might be in finance, another one tech, another one marketing, it can have a negative impact on your future applications because we think, you're spraying and praying, which is not necessarily going to work. And another thing I would say, if you are clicking the fast apply, quick apply, have a look through the screening questions because if it says do you have, say, 5 years in wholesale experience and you don't just say yes just to get through to that because again, it gives a mark against your name because you're not being truthful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good advice. And I think I do understand that in some scenarios people are feeling desperate. Like we've had a recently an interview. I'm calling him super graduate because he's graduated on his own bat. He's gone on to be very successful, but boy, he was so proactive. I didn't give up. And I think people are feeling that desperation. Is there any advice that you would give them in that scenario if they're not getting called back? They really do need to get work and they have experience or good skills. Is there any tip that you give them?
Yeah, of course. And look, I wish I could help everyone. I wish I was a specialist in every recruitment area because that's why I joined recruitment, is to help people. But my advice would be is do your research. Because I'm a professional services, finance and tech recruiter. But if somebody's reaching out to me about a pharma job, they obviously haven't looked at my profile. So do your research, reach out to an appropriate recruiter who recruits in your space. You can find them through LinkedIn, have a look on their profile, their company profile, see what kind of jobs they be posting. And if that matches your skill set, send them a personalized email. You don't have to go into too much detail, but just a very personalized email. Hi, Sky. I'm not sure if you're hiring right now, but my skills are yada, yada, yada. Would you mind hopping on a quick call? And I will always respond myself personally. I don't know if all recruiters do this. Always respond, even if I don't have anything for you now. I'll have a courtesy call just to make you feel like you're not alone. And I might even be able to recommend you to one of my colleagues in the industry, which I often do. If I can't help you, I'll say, you know what, you should probably go talk to Vanessa.
Or have you, touching on AI, have you analyzed certain AI automation in the actual recruitment process that you've implemented with success, or is it still early stages for you?
It's early stages, but we're exploring a number of products. We just want to make sure that even whatever products we use, that they don't take away the human element of it. So to help us with the admin side of it, but still, I think until we find a tool that we can definitely trust, we'll still be doing it ourselves. So yeah, we do spend quite a lot of time going through profiles, but I wouldn't necessarily be screening all the candidates because it's very obvious by their LinkedIn profile and their CV whether they're a fit or not. But if they're not a fit, they at least get an automated email so that they're not waiting around.
Wow. That's a really good tip, because I think for maybe graduates coming through, the onus might not be as much on LinkedIn because they think, well, I don't have a huge amount of experience, but everything counts. And I know that even from the perspective of what you share and what you like and what you comment, a lot of that can be on your feed. So just be very aware of what you're doing. Okay.
Absolutely. But it can also be a positive if you're engaging with your related industry or your passions on LinkedIn and you're adding great insights and, actually contributing, that can really go in your favor. You can become a thought leader. You don't have to have 10 years experience to be LinkedIn influencer, or for someone who people want to follow and engage with your content. It's just have your passion and make it relevant to your audience.
I have a closing tradition for the podcast of asking 2 questions, but you only have to answer one.
Okay.
Question number 1, is there a skill that you have had in your past that you don't use anymore that you would like to use again? And if so, why? Or question 2, if you were to give advice to early talent or mid-career, what advice would you give them to sort of take control of that next few steps?
So I guess the first bit of advice would be go easy on yourself. Be kind to yourself, because if you're putting so much pressure on yourself, life is hard enough with personal life, and then you bring work into it, looking for a job. It can be extremely overwhelming. I know myself, people in my family who have struggled after being made redundant to find a job, and it's really hard to watch. So make sure that you have a good support circle in place. Surround yourself with people who will lift you up, who'll give you the right advice. Do reach out to a recruiter, even if it's somebody maybe you've been following on LinkedIn, but they're not necessarily recruiting in your space. You can still drop them a soft message and say, look, I'm engaging with your content. I'm a little bit at a crossroads right now. I know you don't recruit in my space, so you're preempting it. Could we just have a quick call? Give me some advice. So be proactive, but also go easy on yourself.
Skai, thank you so much. I think the biggest thing I've got from today is that it's really considering all the skills that you have and just the network and the connections and making connections like we've just made now, because that might not be the end person for you, but it could open the door to someone else that is. So just very grateful for the insights and the aspirations for talent acquisition. It's very, very clear they're going to play a bigger role in workforce planning in the years to come. So just thank you so much for coming on and being a guest.
Oh, thank you so much, Vanessa. It was so nice to chat with you, and hopefully this helps somebody in the future. And again, if you wanted to ask people to get in touch with me if they are struggling, I'm happy to make myself available.
Thank you very much. Well, we'll make sure to have your details included in the details below for the podcast. And thank you so much for listening.
Whether you're leading a business, shaping education, planning your next career move, or just starting out, you're part of a global conversation about how we learn, work, and grow. If you've enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe so you never miss what's next. And for early access to new episodes, first invites to events, and a chance to connect with others driving real change, join the community at globalskillspodcast.com, because the future of skills belongs to all of us.